Today we take a look at a pair of earphones from Ziigaat, which is a relatively new brand which I first got acquainted to late last year. Today we have the Cinno in the studio and it's in the market to compete against the likes of the Simgot EM6L. These duke it out in the sub $100 category with a very similar driver configuration, 4 balance armatures plus 1 dynamic driver. Anyways, the Cinno makes me feel like having a cup of cappuccino. I wonder why. The Cinno is really basic when it comes to the unboxing experience. It has an 80s Tron-esque sleeve on the front with some psychedelic colors, with mentions of it being a 4 balance armature plus 1 dynamic driver design. The size of it gives you some tech specs that you might find interesting. Opening the box, you get to see the earphones themselves sitting in the center. Removing that, you then see the provided ear tips as well as the cable that has a greenish tinge to them. Personally, I expected a little bit more in terms of the unboxing experience. It is a little Spartan to say the least. All that is required is given, nothing more, nothing less, but I would have liked a slightly posher experience. Next, moving on to build quality. Interestingly, the Cinno has a grey chassis, which isn't all that common in the custom universal resin chassis designs. I'm a big fan of 50 Shades of Grey, and to me, the Cinno does seem like it can take a sitting or two. Also, the chassis here is rather thin compared to bulbous chassis that is quite fairly common these days. I like how they fit my ears. These are certainly pretty comfortable. The faceplate sports a slightly lighter shade of grey. I like how understated the overall look of the Cinno is. It's the cool dude at the party that managed to pull on a different shade of suit and pants. There isn't anything fancy on the faceplate other than the Ziigaat logo on them, keeping to the minimalist theme. The Cinno has a 2-pin termination that makes it super easy to swap cables, which is nice. Also, the stock cable has a nice dark teal tint to them and matches very well with the grey chassis. The cable provider is soft and supple, and the best part is that they are relatively easy to manage. The stock cable has a 3.5mm termination, so it's really compatible with most dongles and DAP. Inside the Cinno are 4 balance armatures that is matched with a LCP or liquid crystal polymer dynamic driver. Ziigaat used the dynamic driver for bass while utilizing 2 balance armatures for mid-highs and lastly 2 more for pure treble. Sound. I've included a graph for your reference, so for you folks who really like to look at graphs, please look. When it comes to sound, the Cinno is a smooth criminal. It sports a natural warm signature that is pretty common these days, but what it does different is that it is very smooth sounding. You still get your usual peak at around 3k Hz for vocals to have a bit more presence, but the way Ziigaat has tuned this allows it to be not grainy at all. I found the Cinno to be very easy to like as it does not have a sparkling treble, which can be a little bit too much for some. This allows the Cinno to be extremely polite sounding and noob friendly. Bass. Sub-bass is the clear focus on the Cinno. It sports a good quantity of sub-bass that tapers towards the mid-bass. That's to say, the mid-bass has a reduced quantity compared to the sub-bass. Anyways, quantity of bass here is a little more than natural, but certainly not bass hit levels. I do find the speed of the bass from the liquid crystal polymer dynamic driver matches well with the balance armatures employed. On the whole, bass texture is above average and good in its price class. Resolution is also good on the bass regions. Dynamics on the bass is good overall. Moving on to mid-range. Mid-range takes a warmer leaning natural tonal weight, which means vocals do sound sufficiently thick, but not to the levels of a truly warm sounding earphone. This lends for mid-range to have more presence and makes vocal-centric songs very enticing to listen to. Female vocals are delightful as well. You get that focused tone without the unwanted shoutiness, as treble isn't very pronounced on this pair. This we will talk in a bit. Male vocals also take on a similar character with a thicker than natural tone. I do feel that separation between instruments in the mid-range can be a little bit better for its signature, but for its signature it is quite common that separation is a little inadequate due to the thickness. But what you get in return is a very large vocals that will please those who enjoy voices. Moving on to treble. Treble extension on the Cinno isn't the most extended out there. It does come across as a little bit dark sounding, which explains the thickness of the mid-range. I don't find the Cinno to be particularly airy or sibilant. So this is very good news for folks who are treble sensitive, as you should not experience any sort of roughness that is brightness related. Everything has a buttery smooth quality to them. Moving on to Soundstage. When it comes to width and height, I found the width and height to be quite average on the Cinno. It is pretty middling and isn't as expensive as others. If you were to put things into real life sense, this is small and tight like a cozy jazz bar. Next, moving on to depth and positioning, I found positioning to be okay. There is some definition, but it isn't the most pinpoint. This is quite expected from the thicker tonal weight and is a common attribute to a warmer sounding IEM. Depth is aided by good dynamics of the dynamic driver that allows for good perception of how far the music is. So moving on to comparisons, so the most obvious comparison would be versus the Simgot EM6L. After all, both these IEMs have 4 balance armatures plus 1 single dynamic driver. I must say that the Cinno share a lot in common with the EM6L. The main difference would be that the EM6L has a bit more sub-bass as well as a sparklier treble. Technically, both are quite similar as well. I do feel that the Cinno has a slightly thicker tonal weight compared to the EM6L. The EM6L, on the other hand, is a little bit more dynamic sounding, but if you are comparing between the two, if you like thick vocals, go for the Cinno. If not, the dynamics on the EM6L is also pretty darn nice. Next, versus the Truthear Project Red. Now, the Project Red is a V-shaped IEM, which is a little different from how the darkish sounding Cinno is. It has more sparkle by comparison and has better separation compared to the Cinno. However, again, if you like thick, large mids, then the Cinno comes out ahead. So, we have a new segment on the Super Chonk Show. This is where I let you guys know if a product is blind buy worthy, should you buy it, try it and see if you like it, or very specific use, or only get it if it's for your enemies. So for me, the Cinno is something that you should definitely try to see if you like it. It is a little bit off meta in 2023, 2024, but it is still a solid option if you are in the market for a thick sounding IEM. In fact, this sort of tuning is quite a rarity these days. Meaty mids that deliver large vocals is indeed off meta, but for folks who enjoy that, you will be in for a treat. And with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed watching Super Chonk's Super Audio Show. If you want to support the channel, please kindly press the like and subscribe button somewhere down below. It will help me out a huge bunch. And if you do that, you guys are an awesome person. I might be doing a small giveaway again. Watch the next video coming out this Sunday. That will let you know more. With that said, I hope to see you guys very, very soon. Yeah, bye now.